Hello, welcome. Happy Thursday. I have been confused about the day of the week all week long. I woke up completely thinking today was Friday.
What year is it? I don't even know.
I don't know either. What time of day it is? What month? Time is a construct.
Time is absolutely a construct, especially in the year of our Lord 2020. Oh my goodness. Welcome everyone to Call to Action, Call to Reaction Breakdown, Match Breakdown with me, your girl Denny Joy here, hanging out with my number one, and this time I mean it when I say it, my favorite co-host, Miss Kelsey Kirkland and Miss Alex Kelsey.
So excited to break this down with you today. This was an awesome match. I'm super excited to talk about it, hear your guys' thoughts and things like that. It's going to be fun.
The amount of, big dick energy that's in this virtual room right now is obnoxious. That's what it is. It's obnoxious.
It is absolutely obnoxious. Oh my goodness. Well, you saw the thumbnail made by our awesome Mr. Jake Yakavetta. Thank you so much, Jake. Big shout out to Jake. He is a staple in this community. We love him so much. So always big shout out, big salute to you, Jake, man. We love you. We are breaking down the match between two debuts, sort of, right? Yeah. Ish.
It is a singles match. It is a singles match debut for Mr. Alonso Duralde.
Yes.
He's no stranger to the free-for-all. He's no stranger to teams, but definitely the first time we've seen him in any kind of singles match for sure. But the guy we're going to be having come up on the screen here in a hot second, obviously he's no stranger to singles matches. If anything, he's one of the top competitors to beat for sure. So...
That's right. So, ladies, before we bring on our esteemed guest for tonight, really quickly, how did you all feel about this match going into it? Before you watch it, going into it, Kelsey.
Super excited. I adore both these competitors. I was super excited to see them compete, and it was one of those horrible situations where you're like, I want both of them to win, and I want neither of them to lose. How can we make this happen? So that was my emotions going into this match. So
absolutely. What about you, Alex?
I felt the exact same way. They're both personalities that not only meeting him in person that I actually genuinely like. It's crazy things how live events, definitely transform or just heighten your likability or believability, I guess, when it comes to certain personalities. But also, they're just both ridiculously talented in so many different ways. So I was super sad. I was like, first round, guys, come on. Really? Come on.
Cutting deep. There are definitely a few of those matches going into this first round tournament of this tournament. This tournament is legit insane. I can't believe how far that we've gotten so far because we've had so many matches come out every single day of the week. It's been so much fun for all of us to keep up with this. But before we get any farther along, Alex, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce our guest for the day.
Absolutely. I saw him in one of the first movies I saw him in not too long ago. It was actually in The Guest. He's definitely a pretty fantastic actor. You know him as a kid. He is currently sitting with the updated stats 4 and 3. So welcome, one half of the upcoming winners for tomorrow. Shazam, Mr. Brendan Meyer.
Hello. Yay. Hey guys. Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Thanks for being here. We're super excited.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
We are very excited to have you on, Brennan, especially because we get to have you come in and break down this match, your first match going into the tournament. So you got to hear how we felt going into this match about the tournament, Brennan. How did you feel going into this match?
Stressed. I mean, I was excited to get back into it, but I was. This is a tough spot. I think for any competitor where you kind of have lost 2 matches, and it's funny because they're both against really great competitors. One of them I actually played really, really well into, but it's funny with the Schmodown because it's like at a certain point you just have to win if you want to like keep progressing and like keep even getting bigger matches and stuff. And like it just there comes a point where you're like, oh man, like even if I play really well, like at this point, it doesn't really matter. Like I kind of got to find a way to win. And so when I knew I was playing Alonso, I was worried because he's a really, really great player. He's super knowledgeable. Some of the stuff that he's done in teams, I mean, I think he's like done something like, he's been perfect in round 2 a lot of times. And I know he'd run Hitchcock before, and I know he'd run holiday maybe had holiday movies at one point, though. I guess that's not actually an eligible slice this year. That's some backstage stuff, but that's not actually on the list. So that was lucky, because I was like, oh, I don't have to go too deep. Because if I was playing Alonso and that was on the wheel, it's like, well, I guess I'm studying every holiday movie for the next 2 weeks, but because that'll be on there for sure, because he wrote the book on it. But
literally.
That's,
I bought it. I read it.
Yeah,
literally.
so he literally is in the book. So that was actually kind of lucky. But yeah, no, it was interesting, because I knew it was going to take one of my best, if not my best match, to potentially get by him. So thankfully that's what happened. But I knew it was going to take that, and I kind of felt I needed to win. So yeah, there was a lot going into it. But more than anything, it was nice to be back, because it had been a long time, and so it was nice to at least be back and competing. Good. But yeah, I felt like I really needed to win this one, and as we know, it can go either way.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Absolutely. And especially getting points for your manager, who
totally
we all absolutely adore and love. Coy Jandreau is one of the best people that we've ever had the opportunity to talk to. So going into this match for that as well, how was it preparing with Coy? And especially the relationship. We love to hear about the relationships between managers and the competitor. So how did Coy get you prepared for this?
Yeah, well, what's awesome is, Coy, definitely, we just do a lot of doing drills, different study. Bibbs helps out a lot too about different things like that. But Coy and I think he mentions it in the match about the buffalo wings or whatever in the post interview or something. But we really bonded in New York, because I knew him a little bit, but I didn't know him super well before he drafted us. I knew who he was, but I had not talked to him one-on-one a lot. And so that was exciting. But in New York, we met up the day that I got in, and there was the show beforehand, the comedy show they did before, which they usually do before the live event. So Coy and I kind of met up at the hotel, and we got buffalo chicken wings. We ate, we walked, and we really just connected and finally got to chat and have some fun. So that was awesome, because that really established a great chemistry between us. And then obviously going through the match with, the high stakes of that live event and all that different stuff. And so, yeah, I feel really bonded with him. He's just a really positive guy, which is important to have, in these matches. Even last week, the manager's in there in our private room when we're waiting to hear what they do in round 2, and even right before the match. And so just having a positive presence and someone who's really sort of locked in and encouraging is so helpful.
Yeah, so this we haven't seen a lot of matches from the Mercs going into the tournament really so much. So I'd like to hear from Kelsey and Alex. Alex, how did you feel about the Mercs getting ready for this match going into the tournament? And how do you feel about the Mercs going into the tournament in general?
I definitely think they have an amazing lineup going into this tournament, so I feel like they're going to do extremely well. I adore Coy. Any excuse to see more of Coy managing, I am extremely excited for. And so I'm pumped. I'm excited to see what happens and excited to see them get some points, because I know it's going to happen pretty well.
Alex?
Yeah, I think when it comes to overall, even during the draft, we were really quick to say, the Quirky Mercs were definitely drafted. There's you and Bibbs, obviously, but everyone is pretty solid overall. And and overall, and not to mention, the real rejects are very much a gamble going into IG and everying, but that actually worked out really well considering.
Yeah,
and
they both
as
got
a
points,
team,
so.
exactly. At the end of the day, that's the whole purpose, right? So I think that overall, it's a pretty solid. The Quirky Mercs have a really great lineup. So Coy definitely did his job pretty efficiently. So I'm excited to see how that's gonna finally come in through a singles tournament, where I feel like they would thrive more than any other league.
I love that. I definitely agree with everything that you ladies are saying. I love the Quirky Mercs. I think they're definitely, I don't want to say an underrated team, because I think anyone that speaks anything about the Mercs knows how well they do. Look at the people that are on their team. Bibiani is on their team.
No big deal. He's played
no big deal.
matches, guys. He's played 2 matches, guys. No big deal. Nobody knows who he is. Okay, let's not exaggerate his skills.
But I think one of the parts of the conversation that I don't hear about the Mercs is Coy for Manager of the Year. but we've seen Koi work so well with his competitors and be so and just work so well on camera and all of that good great stuff. So definitely trying to campaign a little bit more for Koi for Manager of the Year.
I know.
Let's get it
I
trending,
know.
guys. Koi for MOTY. Let's get it going.
Get the hashtag going.
Everyone's
wow.
there. Amber Alert just went off in my house somewhere, so I feel like my phone is gonna go off any second now. I apologize if it does. But before we get into anything else, I would like to start this matchup. For anyone that is in the chat right now, you are more than welcome to go to our Streamlabs Call to Action podcast. If you have any questions for Brendan, if you have any questions for us about the match, about the Mercs, about just playing in the Schmodown in general, please go ahead and get those in so we can go ahead and get those to Brendan over to him. The words can't speak, doesn't matter. Anyways, if you have not seen this match, please make sure that you go and watch this match. It did premiere today, so go back to the SEN YouTube channel, go watch that match, and then come back and hang out with us so you can get Brendan's breakdown of this match. So we're gonna go ahead and let this play. So spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it. If you do decide to hang out and watch this match with us, it will be on in the background. It will be very low when we will just kind of discuss a little bit of stuff here and there about it. So woo!
And also, we have Megs in the chat, our newest addition to the team. Megs has just joined Call to Action, and we are very, very lucky to have her. We love her.
Yes, Megs is also going to be providing. She provides the stats to C2A, and she's actually she created stats and everything for this match that we're going to watch. We're going to review at the very end of this. So stay tuned for that. All right.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up and press play. Now, like you mentioned, we're going to be skipping through the promos and all the good stuff. We're going to get right to it. Please let me know if the volume is okay. Yes.
Franchise.
Is the volume okay?
You can turn it down just
I can hear it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to turn it down.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's
The
mostly
first person here.
yeah, we're mostly just gonna talk with each other and just kind of have it on in the background, so we don't
For
have
sure.
to like pay too much attention to it. But we are gonna raise the volume up anytime we get to something very specific, so the ladies know. Brendan, if there's anything that you would like to point out specifically in the match, let us know to pause,
Sure.
raise the volume up, and then we can definitely break down anything else that you see from there.
No, totally. Sounds good.
Good stuff. I will say really quickly, when I watch this, I like to play along. I don't ever really play along, but in my head I like to play along. This was the first match that I ever went 7 for 8. I was
nice.
pumped. I was pumped with my
Jealous.
Yeah, I did not do that well.
It just comes down to it. On some matches, you can be perfect or nearly perfect. In other matches, you can be like, "What the heck happened?" The other day during, I feel awful. I can't remember for the life of me what happened. It was during the Sabrina and Vinny match. Especially later, I got actually a perfect score across the board except for that 5-pointer. And I was just like, that is the first time it's ever happened to me. But watching this, I literally got like 2 questions total throughout the entire match. And I was like,
I know. It's hard. I mean, that even happens with me. Like, you'll have those matches where I guess it's more round 2. Like, I usually do pretty well in round 1, but like round 2, sometimes it's like, I'll be like, I know everything they asked to both people. And then sometimes I'll be like, wow, I did not know. But what's funny is like, and obviously I shouldn't go into specifics, but just because you don't want to give things away, but like there are times where they'll spin something that I would be worried about. And I'll be like, oh, I would have gone great. I little know all those. And then there's times where they'll spin something where you're like, oh, I mean, you know, that's something I would always be good in, and you like don't do well at all, you know? So it's so weird if they hit those areas of knowledge within, especially in a broader category, like you think you're good at it. And then if they just hit those few little things you don't know, or it's like, it's hard.
Yeah. So the question that was asked before this was in the category of dramas, but the answer to the question was It's a Wonderful Life, which is a Christmas movie, which is the first time that I've seen a Christmas movie pop up in round 1. Ladies, did y'all notice that at Kelsey?
Yeah, that was a 2-pointer. I don't know what you're talking about. That's a 2-pointer. Give me a decade. Give me a year. Give me an actor. Give me another hint. I guessed Birds.
I knew
the Birds. What classic movie is set in this town? I was like,
I knew Alonso wasn't going to miss this one. Oh, and it's funny. I noticed this, and someone saying surprised no one challenged Alonso's Fast 7 when the movie is Fear 7. I just missed that. Like that was literally one of those things where like I just didn't realize, because looking back at it, that would have probably been a winnable challenge, but I just wasn't. I think I was too worried about because I was like between Insidious and Conjuring, and I was like pretty sure he'd done both, but I was like, maybe there's one that he didn't. So I was just a little bit thinking like, ooh, I was hoping I was right. So I missed that. So it's a good thing to think about going forward, to really pay attention to what people are writing on their boards.
Not kidding. Multitasking can be pretty hard, especially at the start of the match. A lot of the anxiety is built up, but after you win, you get some points and everything, you kind of calm down, or the anxiety kind of goes down a little bit. And so you just get more confident about issuing challenges and picking categories and stuff. But for the first few questions, you're like, okay, we're going to get started. Okay.
Yeah, no, totally.
But right away, it's like,
I mean, this is going into last week's match, but it's like before in every match, you're like, you have the fear of what if I don't know like all the questions. And so that's why last week when I missed the first two, you're just like, oh my God, this is like Schmodown nightmare come true. But most of the time, I usually do get the first couple right. And yeah, it's like, you do settle, you totally settle when that happens because you start to feel good and you think, well, if I drop one, it's okay because I've gotten so many, I'm already almost to the end. And so I'm going to be in that 7 range, but yeah, when you miss some at the beginning, you don't get that natural calming that usually happens in a match.
What on the other end of that, when you're going in there 1 over with the potential to get that 2 over at the end of round 1, are you at this point? Are you kind of more excited about having that 1 extra point, or are you still trying to keep yourself calm?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're in this situation, you're just taking it 1 question at a time, because you just don't know, but you're definitely feeling good. You're definitely hoping, you're really hoping you get it right. And so there's definitely a pressure there. But I've always found in the matches, I'm trying to think in my Schmodown run, I don't know if I've ever, and knock on wood, this doesn't happen, I don't know if I've ever like missed one of the last 2. Like I think most of the time I've so maybe I just have that natural feeling that like as I'm getting more and more right, I start to feel comfortable that I can get a perfect round, because all the times that I haven't, I think it's usually been I miss one of the first couple. Or the first 3 or 4, like maybe I missed number 4 or something like that. So yeah.
And you're kind of thinking back to those questions.
Yeah, I think when you've had a perfect round before, you just feel a comfortability, even though I don't expect a perfect round in every match. When you've had it several times, I think there is a comfortability. You don't necessarily feel that tightness of like, ooh, like I hope I finally get one, or I never get one usually. Like you just kind of try to bring back those positive vibes of other times you've been able to get them all. And because so much of that is trying to make yourself feel like it's your day, which sometimes it's harder if you sort of like, it's not, and you've missed a couple. You have to fight through that. That's a whole different battle.
Woo! Perfect round in round 1.
Yeah. No, this felt great. I mean, this was awesome because, this was filmed before Friday's match. So in real time, I hadn't played a Schmodown match since the Triple Threat. I'd done 1 exhibition match, but that's not quite the same thing. It's not the same pressure. It's not the same. I was feeling good, at least good. I mean, it's 9-7 though. You kind of know that you're totally not out of the woods,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. 2 points is not enough of a cushion to feel completely safe.
No, not at all.
Round 2, especially because round 2 is one of the rounds that we have all seen. It can completely change stuff around. So for the wheel and going into round 2, Kelsey, did you get a chance to see anything that was on the wheel that stood out to you?
I can't
remember. We can't pause. Just saying.
Yeah. I don't do not remember anything.
Only bring it up for sure.
Yeah, I tend to do better. Like if there's, even though it's super broad, the IG category, that's kind of my my default where I feel. But the last time it's come up, I didn't know very many, so I honestly don't know what my.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it next season? Is it this season? Am I completely wrong in this? The slice that's going to be in the singles play, it's going to be Inner Geekdom, right? Like that's going to be the name of the slice?
I think it's just for the rest of this year, to my knowledge. Okay. I think next year they're going to go back to the way it was operating a little bit earlier in the season, like for the Triple Threat and for when Corruption got, I think, DCEU against the family, if I'm remembering that correctly.
So it'll be Inner Geekdom categories scattered.
Yeah,
around?
yeah.
Okay.
You can just put like Middle Earth or Wizarding World or
Okay.
whatever. I think that's how it's going to work next season, but they changed this season. It's just the Inner Geekdom slice, which is sort of interesting. I mean, it's the strategy totally changes, right? When you don't have to prepare for specific slices, but also now it's a broader slice. So it's just interesting. It'll be interesting to see like how that pops up and who uses that when and stuff. That'll be interesting to see.
Are you a fan of any of the franchises that are in the Inner Geekdom?
I am. I mean, I've watched. I mean, I've definitely like rewatched like Lord of the Rings during the quarantine and the Harry Potter movies and stuff like that. But it's so broad, so you never know. But I am a fan. I mean, I've seen almost all the movies that fall under the bracket. It's just what's tricky about that is it's like you wind up like, you know, it's if you haven't seen them in a while, you know, they're so deep cut, the Inner Geekdom type questions.
Yeah, for sure. Alex, if you don't mind pausing it right there so we can also check out
okay,
the website.
Sorry. I do want to pause for a hot second outside of this because hold the phone. Mr. Ben Bateman himself from Nerds in Suit, you know, player one was like one of the players from Who's the Boss is making his rounds, trying to crack some dents into the confidence and excitement as far as Shazam. And obviously he's definitely trying to cut you down a little bit with these, you know, cuts here and there on the socials and all that good stuff.
I did see some socials action. I did see that.
Some socials. Some
Who's the Boss keep coming in.
Oh, well, with that being said, what are like right now, like, do you have anything to say right now to Mr. Ben Bateman?
You know, Ben, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I feel like Ben, you know, for me, I've said this before. I've said this maybe before. I don't know if I said this on the thing on Monday, but like I've already lost to Ben Bateman, and like so it's like I don't really feel like I have much to lose in terms of losing to Ben. I'm feeling the pressure because I really want to get another shot at those belts. So I'm feeling the pressure for that. But, you know, when it comes to losing to Ben again, that to me is less important. I like Ben as a person, but it doesn't really matter who I lose to. Like, I mean, I just don't want to lose. So that's more my focus. So, you know, Ben can say whatever he wants about previous matches. That stuff is less of a concern for me than just making sure I win this one.
You sound like there are some athletes. I read this book talking about athletes' psychology, essentially talking about how like the best pro athletes are never about trying to beat this one person.
Right.
They're just trying to beat themselves, essentially, just constantly challenge themselves. And they're like, at the end of the day, I don't care about this, and this. I just want to improve X, Y, and Z, and I just want to win. Like, I don't care who I'm playing against, all that good stuff. So
yeah,
it's like a very similar mindset.
Maybe if there's some situation where you're in a match where there are no stakes and it's like just a normal, not like the stakes just to win in general, like it's not a number one contender match or it's not in a tournament or it's not for a title. I guess maybe there might be more of like ooh, they got me once, let me get him again. But I don't really feel that for this match. I just feel there's so much more at stake than anything like that. So that's more my focus.
You got to take the Michael Jordan approach to it.
Nothing
just
but
pretend to be mad at someone.
Of course, Ben. Sure.
I can just like picture him having the sunglasses on, being like, I've been nothing but complimentary. I'm Ben. I mean, look at me. I'm part of the Finstock Exchange. I would never do something like that. That just sounds completely out of character.
Ben, we love you, but we're going to move on from this situation from here. So looking at the wheel from that, we got comedies. Is that remakes?
Yeah, it's that remakes and reboots category.
That's an interesting one.
That is a new one that I have not personally seen before. Nice, Spinner's Choice, Hitchcock, Oscar movies, movie release dates, animated movies, Festival Darlings, Opponent's Choice, 80s, Jim Carrey, and Audrey Hepburn. Very nice. So, Kelsey, for me, obviously, that remakes and reboots like slice right there, that's intense and insane. I feel like it's workable, but I've never seen that before, and that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's spun it either, so it's hard to know exactly what that's going to be.
What it's going to look like.
That's always fun. That's always fun, is what's going to be in this slice before any of us know what it is. Kelsey, is there anything on that wheel that you see specifically that sticks out to you?
And I would be good at, honestly, no. maybe comedies, maybe some of those. I might be able, or Jim Carrey. I got to.
What about you, Alex?
It's kind of funny you say that because when you were talking about how, oh, it's kind of interesting to take on a new slice that no one's had before, you described it as fun. I describe it as scary. And yeah, I mean, it's with so many new slices right now. It's very hard to kind of be like, oh, should I take the risk or not? How deep dives are they?
Yeah.
Now they're including things like produced story roles and writing. Like if we're going to talk about Judd Apatow, how many movies has he produced in addition to co-writing and directing and has random cameos in? It's a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of a lot to dive in there. But honestly, looking at, I feel like it's a very evenly matched slice. There's a good amount of not only actors, directors, but also a good range of, genres as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's not super heavy on one side than the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So, Brendan, whenever you go into a match and you see something like remakes and reboots or a slice that you hadn't really seen on the wheel in any of your previous matches or in anyone else's previous matches, what is that feeling whenever you see something like that?
Well, it's just a feeling of uncertainty, right? Which is never a great feeling in a match. Like you just don't know what that's going to entail. You don't know how deep it's going to go. You don't know. So that's those the kind of slices that you sort of are like, well, because the broader categories are hard to get your arms around, right? Now, sometimes they trend easier too, and you get a bunch of like name the movies, and you think, oh, great. Well, I know the directors of these things, and I know these things. But yeah, the broader categories are tricky because you just don't know, and then sometimes they do go deeper cut on a movie, but you can't predict the type of movie they're going to go deeper cut on because it's a whole genre or a whole category. So yeah, those are the stuff that sort of I'm more worried about. But it's kind of a spin, like you don't know, because I'm sure I know a lot about different remakes and reboots, but I'm sure it's hard to know that I know about all of them. I can't say that, right?
Of all genres.
Yeah. Right. Does it excite you as a player to see that you have these new categories that are in there? Or does it kind of feel like a little bit more stress on you as a player?
It's super fun. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because, it's like anything. There's a bunch of new categories that I'm like, oh, great. Like, I know a lot about that already. Like, I don't even have to study that hard, And then there's a lot of stuff where you're like, oh, now that's a slice. Now it's way more likely to come up. Now I have to do more work on it. So it's just either or. I think every player probably feels that way. They added so many new categories that's kind of the fun of it, is that I'm sure everybody had at least 3 or 4. They're like, oh, awesome. And 3 or 4, they were like, ooh.
Not that.
Everyone's got those one, especially 1, 2, or 10 slices through it where they're like, oh no.
Yeah. Everyone's got
like 70s, totally. Like, oh God.
For sure. So we'll get into the rest of the match. Alex, if you want to skip ahead a little bit to where Alonso starts to answer the questions, we can go in from there, because we know that he spins away from his first one, correct?
Yeah.
Which was can someone remind me? I'm so sorry. I have it written down, but my notebook is over.
I can tell you, it was a movie. It was release dates.
Movie release dates. Thank you. Yes,
the Ben Bateman special.
The Ben Bateman specialty. Yeah.
Should we just rename the slice now?
It should still be on the slice. Look,
isn't it
Tim Trader, but it's still.
Is he on the? Wait, is he still on the slice?
Isn't it Mance? No. Mance won the. Mance won the match with the slice. Yeah, Mance won the Iron Man match. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would love Scott.
Unfortunately, but I didn't.
No, he won for sure. Fortunately,
so Brendan, watching. I'm so sorry, Brendan. Watching Alonso Duralde spin away from movie release dates, was that something that you felt a little bit more stress on because it meant that you might have to spin movie release dates, or was that something that you were a little bit or more on the happier side about?
Movie release dates is a broad category, but I feel really good about that. I feel good about that one. So if anything, I was bummed that he spun it first, because I knew that's something that he probably wouldn't be good at. And so, yeah, when he spin just with the digital wheel, you sort of feel like they're not going to spin the same thing twice. It's different, right? When you're in the studio and they spin one thing and you're like, it's a real wheel, you're like, well, they could just spin it again. Whereas, so when he spun it first, I was like, too bad, because I feel like, as you saw, he spun away so quickly. I think if Duralde had landed on movie release dates, I probably wouldn't have even had to sweat it too much. I think he would have definitely not done 7 of 8, which I think he does in 80s. So,
yeah. Alex, do you mind pausing it really quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. So going into round 2 for Alonso Duralde, you opted for him to go first. He spins movie release date, spins away, gets 80s. As soon as I saw him get 80s, I was like, ooh, I feel like he's gonna crush it.
Yeah.
So I'd also like to know, ladies, going into Alonso's, it's his singles debut. We're watching him come in. We know how he is as a competitor. We know what his strengths are. Where we personally feel like his strengths are. Watching him go through his spins, Alex, how do you feel about watching Alonso Duralde in his singles debut in his first time ever spinning in a second round match?
It's when it comes to selecting it, so when it comes to picking out your categories, I feel like it can be very interesting, especially for someone that's not studying. Honestly, he's very vocal about it. He's like, I know what I know and I don't know what I don't know. He's like, I'm not like Stacey Howard where I can just like whip things up out of thin air sometimes. Everyone wishes we could do that, let's be honest. However, it's for him, I actually think I do think it was a good thing that he did spin 80s. I do think that it's specifically a strength. However, we always kind of go back to how age can really kind of really I don't want to say define what your strengths are, but it can definitely give you some idea as far as what movies you grew up with, what movies are definitely more likely to kind of stick inside your noggin that every single line from. And I honestly don't know how old Alonso is, because let's face it, he's Santa Claus. He's a millennia.
Right.
So
every decade, the history of cinema, he's fine.
History of time.
He's a millennia. So, but at the same time, obviously 80s is a bunch of movies that he is very familiar with, and he's also he's a very traditional movie critic as well, where he's paid to actually write about movies. He's not a personality or like he's a host of a podcast or like us or anything. These are like movies he gets paid to watch.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kelsey, going into the second round again for Alonso, like how did you feel watching him go into his second round, spinning 80s, spinning away from movie release dates?
I thought it worked out really well for him. I do think he is one of those players, like we're kind of talking about, like he just has such a vast movie knowledge. I don't think very many of the categories would have been like, oh crap, I got that one. For him, he's definitely got I feel like a good broad knowledge, stuff like that. But 80s also, like you said, just there's so many movies that you just feel comfortable watching over and over again because it's comforting. It's like comfort food, but movies. So a lot of people, I feel like 80s is a strength for those reasons. And so when he pulled him, like, okay, I could see him being that person's like, I'm gonna sit down and watch this great movie from the 80s because it's just my mood.
Yeah. Brendan, especially, I don't want to guess anyone's age or anything like that, but going into round two, watching Alonso hit those 80s movies, we sometimes do feel like age is a factor in some of these movies. So does age play a factor into this? Did you feel what were your feelings with Alonso spinning 80s and hitting 80s into the second round, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I mean, normally it's like I felt like he would be really good at it, and that's normally a slice that maybe I wouldn't always pick just because it's really broad. I would have done well in those particular questions. I think you can kind of tell just as I'm nodding along when you watch the match that I knew most of those too. I think all of them maybe would have needed multiple when he did it, but yeah, it's just you never know. It's kind of a roll of the dice. That's why those 80s categories are a roll of the dice for me, because I feel like I know a lot of movies, but I didn't live through it, and not every player did. So it just depends on that. You feel like you're rolling the dice more with that if you're someone who didn't live through it, Yeah.
And how do you feel about the age factor, especially as someone who we've seen do very well in multiple categories, especially with what we're going to get into for the second part of round two?
Yeah.
Do you feel like age can be a factor at any point in the Schmodown?
It definitely can. And I think it is a factor, and I think it pops up more in like just some stuff, like even like when you look at last night, like the other match, the teams match missing that running scared question. It's like I'm sure that if I was alive in the 80s, I might have been able to remember a poster or a DVD, but I just had never really heard of that film, so with the information given, and so that's like the chances of there being a movie from like the 2000s or the 2010s that I've never heard of is less likely. Whereas in the 80s, especially with someone as big as Billy Crystal, right? So that's where the age comes into it, is that if it's a film that hasn't really stayed in the public consciousness in a massive way, you're not seeing it on all these lists, like top 10, comedies you need to watch and all this stuff. It's a little more of a shot in the dark if someone like me, just because of my age, has retained it or become aware of it.
Totally
I thought the entire decade is just. I thought 80s movies were almost exclusively John Hughes movies. Wow. That's news to me. I thought it was just like Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and maybe Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but that's 70s. But yeah, it's decades.
Hit play on that also. I'm sorry, and hit play, and I'll let you finish your thought. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, that's it. That's all I got. I realized Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is like from 78 or 79 or something. So I was like, wait, never mind.
Planes, Trains is in the 80s.
So I
really?
loved,
yeah, it's
I thought so too. I loved Brendan, I'm so sorry. I loved hearing your strategy about this. So that's one thing that I'd also like to get your opinion about, because now that we have this different format that we're doing it, where it's like a mirrored, doing it on StreamYard, having these online matches and stuff like that, we as fans get the opportunity to listen in on managers and their competitors and their decision-making process and how they feel about that. And sometimes we've seen competitors maybe give a little too much. We've even seen competitors kind of give this little code.
Yeah, there's codes and stuff. Yeah, totally.
I love that. So how do you feel as a competitor going in and having to have these public conversations with your manager going in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, right? As far as strategy. I mean, I think it's fun for me too, as a viewer. Like when I'm watching other matches, I like seeing that stuff. But as a player, it's not ideal, right? Because you don't always want to give away why you're doing certain things. And this was a bit of a risk, picking the Audrey Hepburn thing, because I knew that if there was a steal opportunity, he'd probably get it. But I've seen a lot of Audrey Hepburn films. Like, I felt pretty comfortable with it. And I really thought that I could get to 6, which is all I really need. I mean, he's put me in a position where, like, and like I said, there's no slice on there other than maybe Oscar movies and maybe movie release dates. But even then, you never know. There might be one thing you have to check down to multiple on. Like, that's really the only one where I was like, I'm going to get 8, 100%. And there were so many other slices that were broader. And I'm just like, I don't know. And I just felt like I felt really good about the Audrey Hepburn slice. And there were just other things that I felt pretty confident that I would not tank it, if that makes sense. And there were a couple other things on there where I was like, man, if I got the perfect run of questions, because I got like directors in a match once, which is a category I feel great about, and I wound up with like 3 points, and so I was like, there's some in there where I was like, man, if I got the worst possible thing, I could wind up way down. And I thought with Audrey Hepburn, there's no way. I felt really confident. Like, there's no way I'm not going to know at least 2 of these without multiple, if not more. And I've heard, it's funny, I don't want to get into any spoilers, but I've heard that it's spun again in another match. And I heard those questions and I was like, I knew all of those. So I just kind of got unlucky that I hit that thing. Someone's saying, explain the lesbian being in a relationship challenge. I mean, that was just me. I decided to word it a different way for no particular reason. Sometimes under pressure, you don't wind up going with the most direct thing. You sort of like say it in a different way. Oh
no! Oh goodness!
Oh man!
I'm sorry, guys. Bateman. I didn't realize this was the waiting room I was in. I was getting ready for a different show, Brendan. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take away from your moment. Go ahead and finish. I'm just here taking notes. No, nothing to do with you. I'm just your friend. I'm not taking notes on you or anything like that.
No. I didn't have much more to say. I was just saying, like, it's just one of those things where they felt there needed to be more information. And Alonso, in the private chat, made a good point that a sexual relationship could be different from a romantic relationship, which is sort of the other side of it. So ultimately, I think they made the right call. I think there's no really one right way to think about it. I should have just said lesbians right away, but sometimes you say different stuff up there,
Yeah, man. That was a tough category. You played very well in that match. I was impressed.
Oh, well, thanks, man. That's the only reason I do the Schmodown is to impress you. So.
Well, goodness glaciers. Look at who we have here. Just your friend Bateman coming in, crashing the T2A serve. Not to share too much about the behind the scenes stuff, but PLD is part of the Schmominati, and it is what it is. So
PLD is here too. Oh my gosh.
So it is what it is.
This is a great ambush.
And now, Ben Bateman, you are here hanging out with the C2A crew and Brendan Meyer. And isn't there something going on between you sometime soon?
Yeah, we've got a match tomorrow, and I have to tell you, I've been focused. I've really been focused on this match tomorrow because this is stiff competition. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was recording my promo, I couldn't think of anything but nice things to say, and so that's exactly what I did. I really did, Brendan. I have to say, like, if you go down the resume of credits that you guys have as a team. It's pretty impressive. And it's really stiff competition for who's the boss. So yeah, I was happy to share all that stuff. I have to say there is some pressure on you guys, specifically you, I think, actually. Because as the better game player on your team, I feel like if the game is not played well, it's kind of on you to pick up the slack. And that is something that we've seen before. So I'll be watching for that. I'm sure you've thought about that though. I'm sure that's already in your head, right?
Nope. I'm only thinking about trying to win the match, man. I'm not thinking about all this other stuff and who knows more, who the better game player is, who has the better t-shirt. I'm not thinking about any of that stuff.
The t-shirt? What's that?
I'm just throwing that in there because that's as meaningless as any of the other stuff you're bringing up. That's what I'm saying.
Wow. Meaningless. You didn't unfollow me on Twitter. I saw that you thought about it, but you didn't do it. So I guess
I didn't do it.
I can't even believe you were offended by that. I didn't know what was. Everybody's saying you guys said I was throwing shade. I was taking shots at him. I woke up. I thought, look, I'm grateful to have been in the Schmodown. I've played a lot of great matches. I didn't even put a clip of me winning the title. I didn't even include that. I just was sharing great memories.
I mean, one of those matches wasn't even one that you won. So you're right.
You're right. It was just one that your manager lost. But I was there. It was exciting. I think it was exciting for all of us to see Koi try so hard in that match. He tried really hard. It was great.
It was exciting, man. I mean, it's always exciting when you have a player like Dan Murrell and that they actually had to play the best game of their career to beat you. I see him, he plays Ethan Irwin, he misses fives, he can still win. I mean, if he'd missed the 5 against me or Bibbs, he would have just lost. So I'm glad that Dan had his absolute best stuff against us, because he needed it,
It's a good thing you guys are so accurate. I feel like accuracy is ultimately what gets you on Mount Rushmore. I feel like if I asked Bibbs, I feel like he would tell me the same thing.
Hey man, look, I'm not gonna get into this. I agree, winning is important. And I said this, earlier in the match. There comes a point in your career and in runs where you just have to win, and all the other stuff doesn't really matter, And that's very much the point where both teams are at. I think tomorrow, we're we've both proven that we're great teams, better than a lot of teams that have played the upper tier. But yeah, I mean, at this point, all that's left is to win. So.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, I think, and as far as getting ready for you guys goes, it's a really unique challenge because I know you guys are both very knowledgeable. You're good at a lot of things. And we know, I threw all the tricks I could at you last time, so I can't use those tricks again. The same with Bibiani. So it is just going to come down to, I think, just who knows more. And Bibbs knows the most. So I feel like you guys have a really good chance to win, right?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. I mean, you have the most knowledgeable player on your team, and I'm sure that's going to be the reason that you guys win. So,
wow. Thanks for the vote of confidence, man.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm impressed by impressive players, and I was just sitting here and I was taking notes, and not on you, but I was watching you do the show, and then I clicked the link. I thought I was going somewhere else, and then here I am. So, but I'm glad we got to have this talk, Brendan, because. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of everything you do, and I'm hoping for a good, clean game tomorrow, where really the best team wins. And I hope there's a good internet connection, and I hope we all have fun.
Even if we're the worst team, I just hope we win. I don't care. Yeah. I don't even care.
Yeah, I just want to have fun. I know for Bibbs, if he has fun, he usually wins. So hopefully he has a good time, right?
Sure, man. I think we're all gonna have a good time, man.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for bringing me on here. I didn't even know that I was getting in. And Brendan, impressive stuff in your match against Alonso. That was, 9 points, and then to have Audrey Hepburn, that's a really hard category, and you played well. So I hope carry it in, man. You're not 0-5 anymore, right? That's exciting. That's right. You got to win.
I know. I'm like, what are we? 2-5 now? Is that how it works?
Yeah,
Shazam is collectively 2-5.
Yeah, there's no there's no bad feelings going into this. So now you got a little momentum, a win on your side. So I think you're pretty well set up. So anyway, man, get a good night's sleep, get some rest. I'm sure you're thinking about all this stuff already, and I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just glad you can't try to somehow mess with my sleep or something. It wasn't like not at a hotel at a live event where you come in banging pots and pans and trying to throw me off or something. So
that's something a villain in a movie would do. I would never do something like that. I'm just your friend Bateman.
I wouldn't put it past you, man. You'll find my address, go over there, wake me up.
Fireworks going on outside.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that,
Absolutely.
he's a friend, not only of C2A, but also Shazam as well. He's a friend and not a villain because, the slick back, greasy hair, those really big, like villainous sunglasses and regular glasses and everything.
He's a huge Shazam fan, man.
He's the most face character we have in Schmoedown. And, it's just, we're so glad to have you present,
I mean,
Alex, look,
admit it or not, you whispered.
Excuse me, sorry.
Come on,
Sorry.
Ben.
I've been having a horrible cough lately, and it's like I should probably go get tested, guys.
I am over here just trying to run a show and a channel, and of course, the one, the only, the trader Ben Bateman would love to come and crash any streams that we have going on C2A because he loves to. Just the biggest traitor to the Action Army. Ben, you also have a match coming up.
Like there's one more. It's a little bit more of a traitor.
This is, the Civil War is still happening. The Civil War is still happening. So, Ben, we don't want to take up too much of your time anymore, sweet baby Ben, because you've got other stuff that you have to do.
I know.
But in a couple of weeks,
I thought Ben would be deep in the study, I didn't think he'd have time to come on and, talk about how much he loves Shazam and how
Brandon,
good
I'm not hungry anymore. I won the title before. I don't even. I feel like I don't bring anything into matches anymore. I've gotten fat. I'm sort of lazy now. I don't take great care of myself.
I couldn't agree more, Bateman.
I'm just going off of what I know. And you guys say I'm a villain or something. I feel like no matter how hard I try to be a nice guy, all I get is pushback. So I don't know what to do. I don't know how to show you. I even wrote it in my title here, but it doesn't get the job done. So
I'll tell you exactly what you can do. You can get rid of the ridiculous amount of hair gel. That's what you can do. But thank you so much for dropping by for our little friends corner. We really appreciate it. So on that note, we would love it if you're
on notice, buddy.
And nothing makes me happier than to know that the night before this match, you're just watching me win. That's great. I mean, that's you're just watching me go perfect in round one.
Brandon, I'm a fan.
And I'm glad that's.
Do you blame me? I'm a fan of the kid. I think you're great. Sure. I really enjoy when you win and are successful in your career. And I think that you have a lot of weight on your shoulders tomorrow. So, but you can carry it clearly. So good luck with it.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of your show. I'm so sorry. I didn't even think I was going to be on here. And
of course.
And I'll see you again soon. All right.
Bye,
guys.
Bye, Ben. Oh man, ambush!
Gosh.
Oh goodness!
What a
apology.
Seriously, I'm so sorry, Brendan.
Definitely not expecting that crash.
It's all right.
That kind of behavior is really inexcusable here at C2A, and
I know.
I'm really, really sorry.
Yeah, and I'm very much against just cutting people off. So I was waiting for our friend Bateman to politely excuse himself, which he finally did at the end. So thank you, Ben, for politely excusing yourself.
Like I said, man, he's wasting valuable study time coming on here and talking to me about how, all this different stuff.
That's right. But now, finally, we're going to get back into the match. So I'm going to bring this back on screen. Or Alex, if you want to go ahead and... Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That's my... Oh, no.
You know what? Yes. Okay. I love seeing more of your face. So I'm very okay with that.
Pressing the wrong button. So before we start the playback on this, obviously we're here. We're going to speed through this as fast as we can with making sure that we get through everything also. So the challenge, this is a very much a rightful challenge in my opinion, and very much an interesting challenge. So Brendan, before we get your opinion on this, I really want to get the girls and I had a conversation about this before we got started here tonight. So Alex, you girl, I'm gonna let you start real quick, and then we're gonna get into it.
Well, I didn't hear it all that much when it's definitely kind of weird to me. I guess based on technicalities, you can't have a romantic relationship without being sexual, but same time you can't have a sexual relationship without being romantic. It's just that's such a gray area in general. To me, I honestly think you should have gotten the full points right out the gate because you said because in a relationship. And I'm like, to me, you can take it either way. I honestly, I think I when I watched it initially, I thought you said in a relationship, but then I rewatched it after chatting with Kelsey, and you specified romantic relationship, and I was like, okay, should have gotten the full points.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like, really, you have to go into multiple choice.
Well, they
because of that answer.
really
You should have.
Well, that kind of threw me off because I thought that'd be enough, and when they said more specific, I was like, "Oh gosh, what's more specific?"
Like how much more?
I knew that it was that they were accused of being in a relationship with each other. That's that romantic, sexual, lesbians, whatever. Like in the relationship, however you want to word it. So I thought that whatever way you worded it would be enough. But I mean, I respect their decision. I mean, I'm glad that I still got the points and that there wasn't any wonkiness there, and it all worked out for the best. But yeah, I wish I would have been able to come up with the way to say it the way that they wanted to hear it, so that I could have got the full 2. But as you saw, it almost put me out of the match because 2 would have at least got me a tie. So
yeah, absolutely. So Kelsey, also, I want to know how you feel about this challenge as well. I love to get people's opinions about challenges. So if anyone has an opinion about this challenge, please get it out. Be respectful of everyone, because ultimately, at the bottom line, definitely respect the writers and the judges for going with the decision that they went with. But Kelsey, I want to get your opinion about this challenge as well.
Yeah, like back to the crush wire, stuff like that. Like that was the answer they put. Like that. Nobody talked negatively about they're doing an awesome job. Love PJ and the crew. Make sure you give them love on Twitter. They deserve it.
Yes.
they deserve it. So please do. But like I feel like in this throwdown, many times there's been answers where the answer would say is like a doctor, and someone answers like, okay, they were a heart surgeon or something like that, and they're just slightly more specific than the actual answer, and they accept it because it's. I feel like this felt like it was similar to that, where it was the same thing. It was a little bit more detailed, like of what's happening instead of just a one word answer, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah, I thought there'd be more than enough context clues, like in terms of like they're women, then they're accused of what? Well, they're accused of being in a relationship. But it just depends. I mean, it's like
Yeah, absolutely. So also for me, watching this and watching everything like logistically, sort of whatever words. When Brendan, when you answered romantic relationship, Mark Ellis asked you to clarify. And then when he asked you to clarify is when you asked to go into multiple choice. Now, I haven't seen anyone say anything. I also have not been on any of the socials after the match. Watched the match, got ready for tonight, all of that good stuff. So I haven't seen any of the socials or any of the Discord about what's going on in there. But in my opinion, that could have potentially, whatever words, could have been a challenge on Alonso to you for that. Maybe, possibly. I'd like to get your opinion on that. If Alonso would have challenged, because you technically, in my opinion, I still believe that you should have. I believe that you answered the question. I believe that you should have been awarded the 2 points. I absolutely agree with what happened overall in the outcome. But in between that, Alonso Duralde could have possibly challenged that because you answered the question and then went to multiple choice.
Yeah, right. I think Alonso, I think what's really interesting, and it's why I wouldn't necessarily do this the way that I did it ever again, is that in the moment, I really thought I'd just win the challenge. Like I thought all I had to do was sort of like challenge it a little bit, and that it would wind up being, I'd get the 2 points. And I felt like I really needed every point, which I guess we see is true. But it was a bit of a risk because I think that there could have been a challenge from a different player who could have said, well, he chose the challenge, so now he I think there could have been an argument that that he should have if you choose to challenge it instead of taking your 1 point, you have given up all the points, and so that's the thing is that I think that there could have been an argument that, I mean, Alonso would have had to get a new question, right, because of the discussion.
Exactly.
But there could have been there's an argument to be made that they could have ruled incorrectly, that the answer was incorrect, and then he would have been able to steal for 2 points on something else. But it's hard to rule that answer was totally incorrect either, right? So it's just hard. So I think they ultimately made the right choice, but I think they could have basically said, they could have really burned me on it if I mean, not that it would have been personal, it would have just been their decision, but they could have chosen to do it, and it wouldn't have been like a total mistake, I think the big thing is I wish I would have said like a romantic relationship with each other, and stuff like that. And, that's, I maybe should have said that. And, I see. Yeah, I didn't. That's why I'm saying didn't specify same-sex relationship. I assume there was enough context of like
Yeah,
it's about
that's-
two women. Like I assume that was pretty obvious. But
Mhm.
yeah, it would have been helpful to do that.
I think it's very also. I'm sorry to Kelsey throw both of us under the rug right now, but I feel like it's very telling that the two bisexuals in this chat are both like, yes, romantic relationship. Yes.
Well, I mean, that's what I was.
I also say I'm in a relationship all the time when I'm not referring to my husband. I mean, like when I say I'm in a relationship with my doctor, we have a relationship. So I say like that. I'm not in a romantic relationship, but I'm totally in a relationship.
Right.
But given the context of it, I totally can see it either way. It was a little frustrating, but there is a thing is if hypothetically there is some people have had an issue with oversharing. So hypothetically, if we're going to go back to Kelsey's example, if the answer is like a brain surgeon and you say doctor, that's fine. But what if someone said, I don't know, psychotherapist, a psychiatrist, technically a doctor, but not specifically they were looking for, if the answer is brain surgeon. So if you're oversharing like that, you kind of want a little bit of vagueness. I have had competitors in my faction that have overshared and ended up not getting the points, even though they had some technically they were right, but oversharing can be a bad thing. So you got to be just vague enough sometimes.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And I think the thing is that it's all dicey. But I thought being in a relationship was okay. Like I said, I think with each other would have been a little bit stronger. But I think that in a romantic relationship, I see what they're saying with it being like too broad, but I felt like there was enough context clues to show that I was referring that they're in a romantic relationship. The women are accused of being in a romantic relationship. So that was where I was thinking with it.
And then that's Kelly. Thank you, Kelly, for this comment. And lesbian doesn't specify with each other. They can just be lesbians. But
right, which is true.
I haven't seen the movie, so I can't.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie either. So.
Yeah, no, if you can believe it, I've never seen it either. I'm just familiar with it. I have it taped. I'm in Canada and I have it taped on my TV in LA. So it's like one of those things like I would have actually seen it 100% if I hadn't had to go up because of everything going on with coronavirus and everything. So but that's what I'm saying is it's sort of dicey because like lesbians, it could be like, they could be accused of being lesbians in the movie, but in fact, they're actually accused of being in a lesbian relationship with each other. But, I don't necessarily think they made the wrong choice. I think like Alonso definitely has a point of talking about the difference between romantic and sexual and what needs to be specific. And so ultimately, I think it worked out for the best. I think they did about as best as they could do because it's such a gray area.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Totally.
Yeah,
right.
ladies, I think we're all completely on agreement with that. I'm so sorry. Go.
I was gonna say we have a Streamlabs that came in while somebody was still in here, and we're distracted by them. Sure. But it said, "Can we get Ben?" It's by Jeremiah Morris. Can we get Ben off the screen? I can't deal with that idiot today. Also, Bren, good luck. You got this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Jeremiah. We have achieved what your Streamlabs wanted. So we got it.
We got him off the screen. You're welcome.
We got it. So
he's out of here.
Yes, he definitely.
You want me to pull back? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Were you about to ask if we were going to add this back?
Yes, that's all I was.
Yes, let's go ahead and bring this back. And Alex, I will let you play. We'll go through the rest of it, and we'll go through it really quickly.
Oh, yeah, it's going to start here in a hot second.
Brendan, going into round 3, I'm convinced that there's a strategy for picking numbers. I'm not going to dig too deep on anything because I don't want to ask strategy questions. I never do. But is there something about the numbers that you pick that resonates with you?
Yeah, I pick the same. I try to pick the same 3 numbers every time. And I also kind of have a contingency of what I do if someone picks one of them ahead of time too, because I kind of early on, I was like, if I pick different numbers every time or just like, randomly decide what I'm going to choose based on the day or something, if I lose, they'll always be like, oh, why didn't I just pick that number? Or why didn't I just pick this number? And so by picking the same 3 numbers every time or having a contingency plan, even for what you'll do without, you just kind of eliminate that second bit of second guessing. You sort of go like, oh, I'm only going to get these questions on this day. That's the only thing. And so, because I feel like if you're up there and you're like, I'll take 6, 7, and then if you have that moment where you're between like 8 and 9 or something, if you list the 5 and it's an 8, the whole time you'll be like, what if I'd said 9? That would have been the question I would have known. So I just always want to, I'm just protecting myself against that because I don't ever want to like, that's why I always pick the same 3 numbers. I do it in teams too. And like I said, it's not even like someone could get in my head and take them because I've got a contingency for each one too.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've been mostly lucky with the numbers too, which has been nice, because there's a lot of I've done pretty well in round 3s, especially in singles, and like there's a lot of questions I don't know, right? Like I watch matches and I go, wow, I didn't know that 5 or I didn't know that 3 and stuff. So I've been pretty fortunate. So no need to change them now, I guess.
Yep,
that's good
for you.
I like that. That's a great response to that question. I love it when people respond honestly and earnestly in that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Totally.
Yay.
Yeah.
So we're still in round 2 on the screen right now.
Yeah, and this was the big steal. I thought I'd really lost it here. I thought this because my whole goal going to this match was just not to be down. Like I just thought at least make sure, and that's one of the reasons I picked Hepburn too, because I thought, I think I'll be able to come out with it. And yeah, just this is one of the ones that I don't know well enough, this is just one of them. There's not many, but there's one of them. Like even some of the Children's Hour. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I knew enough about it. And How to Steal a Million. I just I would have known who her co-lead was. I knew who directed it, but I didn't know. I just didn't know who this specific plot point. And I think actually the poster is like her holding up a diamond or something. Oh, hey Koi, what's up? What's up?
I feel bad when we pull up his name. His face actually literally covers your face because of the icon placement.
That's all right. That's all right.
So I feel bad.
Koi can cover my face.
Can we move it or something?
Koi can cover my face. That's fine.
So now that Koi's in the chat, going into round 3, we already talked about picking your numbers and stuff like that. You already, like you said, you already have your numbers predetermined. Those are the numbers that you go in with and stuff like that. Does Koi ever give you any advice on numbers and what to pick or anything like that? Or does he just kind of always let you do your thing with your own numbers?
Yeah, I mean, just the numbers thing was in place from last year. So we never really have talked that much about the numbers thing because that's kind of been in place. And even with Shazam, like we always pick my numbers too. So it's just kind of, it's just sort of, that stuff's just been in place. Wasn't even a major conversation. Like I'm pretty sure I've done that since the first match with Paul even. So yeah.
Now I love the even distribution of managers that control but also let their competitors kind of do their own thing, especially because these are managers that are working with competitors for the first time, so these competitors already kind of have their own vibe and what they do. So going into this, like does Koi feel like one of those managers that kind of is a little bit overbearing, or does he feel like someone that just completely lets you do your own thing?
No, I think what's great about Koi is that he always has an opinion. He always has great suggestions and great ideas, and but also if you have an instinct, he isn't overbearing at all, right? Like if he says something and you have an instinct, Koi, for this particular instance, I'm feeling this or that. He's very flexible with that too. So he's really a perfect manager in that way. And that kind of half the time it's kind of like a great film director, right? When you're working as an actor, it's like the greatest directors are the ones who always have an opinion and always come to you and always can direct you and help you when you need it, but also aren't like, if you say, hey, could I try it this way? They're not going to be like, no. So they're going to let you play and let you feel loose. And so it's awesome. So I really enjoyed working with Koi. I don't have a bad word to say about the guy.
That's one thing going into this season is when the season started, I had like my managers. I'm like, if I was playing in the Schmodown, I'd want these managers. But now like going through the whole season so far, they've changed. Like I think Koi and Winston are the two I would want to be my managers because I don't need to be told to study. I don't need to like that. I need a cheerleader. I need someone to give me like that really good pep talk and like get me in the mindset. And I feel like they both are. They're so good at that.
Winston has been so fun to watch, and like Winston just his investment. I mean, Koi has that investment too, and like, but just we've seen it with Winston with these deep runs, and just how emotional he can get at times, and it's beautiful to see. I mean, it's just so beautiful to see, and he's been on an amazing run. I mean, the stuff that's happened, like an amazing Ace Cabrera run, Chandru, and like it's and part of me was I was wondering if that's why we were going to lose the final exam. I'm like, maybe Winston just has the magic this season. He's just got.
He's got the swag. He's got that drip drip. My managers are Winston, Roxy, and Koi. Alex, who are your top 3 managers that you would want to play with?
Honestly, let's see. Shannon would be a big one
Oh yeah.
for me. Winston as well. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think I can't think of another one off the top of my head. But say because everyone has different styles and everything. And I think when it comes to different styles and everything, I am by nature, when it comes to really be into something, I can get really obnoxious and intense. And I'm like I am all over the place with anxiety, and I'm like over analyzing and everything. But so I kind of need someone to help calm me down and be like, hey, breathe, chill, girl. I just kind of need someone to gotta be like, hey, breathing exercises, remember? So I feel like I would have that I like to think I would have that relationship with her. And same with Winston. And I mean, he's just like, doing amazing this season. Coy as well. He's just like a ball of energy, of enthusiasm, excitement. But not to mention, I feel like he's like one of those managers that would challenge you a little bit. And he's like, hey, if you want to play, you got to be here to play. I'm not going to put the energy in you as a manager if you're not here to play.
Yeah.
You got to be in it. If you're not in it, that's fine. You just got to let me know so I can, put my energy elsewhere as a manager.
Agree with you. Okay, really quickly before we get in, I'm so sorry, Kelsey, before we get into anything else from
that's what I was about to do.
Happy
Speaking of Winston put on social media that today should be Jake Acavetta Day. So happy Jake Acavetta Day.
There you go.
True.
He is the best. So at this point right now, we're getting into the 3 points. We know that Alonso is going to hit his 3 point. And after he hits this, we'll go ahead and raise the volume up so we can listen to that 5 point question from Brendan.
Oh, man.
Yeah, these are like really tough questions overall, I have to say.
Yeah. Do you mind raising the volume up? I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to turn it up.
And before we get into that really quickly again from PC for Brendan.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like we're having that issue.
I know. It would have been fun to see Alonso keep going, because I think he really could have won some real, gone on a real run here. So obviously I didn't want to see that happen.
Right.
but if it had been a different circumstance, I would have been more than happy to have seen him do really well. He's a really nice guy.
What did Jonah accidentally leave behind?
This is one of those questions, you either know it or you don't.
Yeah. And then after he answers, go ahead and pause it real quick.
His backpack.
Wow, 5 points for.
I just knew I'd seen it not long ago, actually. So it's just one of those great lucky moments, because the thing that's really tricky too is I'd seen it it's not even like watching it specifically for Schmodown, but I'd seen it I've seen it in the last few years when I've been in the Schmodown. So you just pay attention to those things more, Like if you asked me about a movie that I saw in 2016 or 2015 when I was didn't really know about the Schmodown, even though it's not that long ago, I might not remember, because I might not have been. Well, I didn't watch movies back then ever thinking about remembering trivia or remembering. So that's the nice thing about Sleepless in Seattle is that's one that I watched and was going okay, so what would they ask? And
Yeah. Alex, can you pause it really quickly?
Yes, ma'am.
So, my favorite thing about the third round in a 3-round match, or generally because this is typically the last round of any match, is the anticipation that goes into it. So you got to answer questions. It's a fight for who's going to be in the lead and all of that stuff. So you go in there, you answer your 5-point question. That's all you can do at that point is just answer your questions. So going into this point right here, where it's up to it's out of your hands at this point. You've done everything that you can do for this match, and it just hangs on whether or not your competitor can answer this question. What are your feelings going into a moment like this? And any time that you've done anything like this, what are your feelings going into something like this?
It's tough. I mean, it's an interesting feeling though, because I always feel like until they ask the question, you just don't know. There's a weird. I feel like when they ask the question, you feel a totally different way, right? But this was tough because I had played so well. I'd only missed one question, and literally in the whole match was one question, and it was totally had no fate in my hands, and it's very similar to the Merle match. The Merle match I played pretty well in that too, and was just 1 point behind, and it made all the difference. So. at this point, I was kind of feeling like it wasn't going to be my day. You know, it just felt like Alonso was not only was he so knowledgeable in general, but he was really getting all the questions right today. It just kind of felt like his day. So in this particular moment, I just kind of felt like I was kind of preparing to lose, essentially.
Yeah, I think we can all kind of see that when he answers his question once we start to play it again.
Well, we can talk about that because the way he answers it was particularly unsettling because he didn't burn his repeats. He said it so. I was like, and I was even talking to Koi about this today. I was like, dude, like when he answers that fast, I didn't know this one particularly, or at least I didn't really even have time to come up with a guess because I could have pulled it if I would have used a repeat or two. But like he answered it so quickly that I was like, maybe that is it. Jeez.
And that's my question to you ladies down here, to Kelsey and to Alex, as fans watching this match, seeing all of those 3 tiny JTE heads hanging out right there at the bottom. Last question, the question that completely determines the match. How do you ladies feel watching Alonso Duralde answer this question? Alex, I'm going to start with you. Or Alex, I'm going to start with you.
It's kind of a weird situation. Now the manager in me wants to be like, you turn it. You start thinking about it. It's a 5-pointer. If you're certain, even if you're certain you have the extras, why not think it through just to be double, triple check? Because let's face it, it's so easy to jump the gun when you're overexcited, that a movie or all the little details about it. So since it is your 5-pointer, it's your last question, chances are you're probably not going to go in overtime, statistically speaking. So no problem. And actually, now I think about it, you can't use JTEs in sudden death, can you?
You get one.
Okay, you get one. But use those JTEs, because why the heck not?
Kelsey?
I mean, I've been a follower of players like Ben Bateman, like that, so I feel like you just use it just for the theatrics.
That's fair.
I know.
Honestly, when he answered so fast, I didn't know the answer either. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Something as someone who's a fan of Ben Bateman and followed him a lot, I just realized actually I don't think what's really interesting is in singles he can, but in this digital format, I actually don't think he's going to be able to do that anymore in
That's
teams. True. I was thinking about this just the other day. I was like, oh wow, because I was thinking about Final Exam, like when they played us, they actually had to say to each other like, oh, I don't know, or I'm not ringing any bells, which normally in a teams match they just huddle. So that's what's really fascinating about Ben is that in singles he's still got that card to play, but I think in teams he won't be able to probably be able to do it. Or I mean, knowing Ben, maybe he'll find a clever way. But I mean that's
very fair point.
But it'll be interesting because I think you kind of in the like say they're playing us and they get a 5 and like they someone has to say like I don't know. They can't just be like.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting to say. Like, and also like here's the hard thing, Brendan. Like, here's the hard thing for people like Kelsey, Alex, and myself have to deal with. Like being reactors for the Schmodown and stuff like that. At the same time, sometimes when we discuss things like this, we don't necessarily want to give certain people some study tips because but I'm gonna say it right here, but that's when I feel like those code words mean a lot.
Girl, I've been using code words for a long time. Okay, now suddenly code words are
really
cool.
quickly. So here's the thing. I'm so glad that you said that, Alex. Thank you so much. I really want to get into that. We're gonna finish the rest of this match in a second, but I really want to get into what Alex just said right here. Alex, we have the fortunate opportunity to have Alex in our crew because Alex is a manager inside of the Fan Leagues. The Fan Leagues have been operating on an online system like this their entire whatever they've been. I can't think of the word for as long as they've been alive, but as long as they've been existence. Thank you, tequila here. Thank you. In their entire existence, they've only done things online. So there are these little tips and tricks in these formats that are kind of really intense. And Alex, I want to get back into that stuff about you as a manager with the Fan Leagues and those code words, but I really want to ask Brendan really quickly. Now that we have a couple of fan league competitors going into round 2. If you haven't seen anything that's caught up for the 3 weeks that we've been doing this, please catch up. Now that there are a few fan league competitors
Right.
going into this, and spoiler alert, also Brendan won. So now that you're going into round 2, and you're not, your bracket system is not there yet. So who you're competing has nothing to do with this. But if
Yeah.
you ever had to compete against a fan league member, do you feel like those optics kind of come into play at all? And are you ever worried about playing against a fan league member?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, my first match was against Paulo Yama, someone who came from the fan leagues. He beat me. So, I mean, I'm always worried playing these fan leagues people. But in this format, it's interesting because they do have an advantage because this is a similar format to the way the fan leagues have run in the past. I think now, thankfully, I've been able to play in teams. I'm going to get to win or lose, play another game in teams tomorrow. So, and I guess my second round opponent wouldn't be a fan league player, it'd be Andreka or Ratchety. So I feel by the time I would get to be playing fan leagues in this tournament, I'd at least have played like a good sample size of matches within this format, which is good. I mean, they're obviously going to have, they're saying like someone like Adam Collins, who's in my side of the draw, someone like Marisol, if she were to go all the way to the final. I think she'd have to go all the way to the finals. But Chance, I guess, is in, if it could be the semis, I think is how that works. So yeah, there's a lot. And Yama too would be in the finals. So yeah, so I think I'll have some feet under me at least before I'd have to play Adam Collins, but he'd still have more experience than I would,
Yeah, I know that between the three of us here, Kelsey, Alex, and I, we've expressed our opinions about what the league has been doing now, being online. We absolutely love it. Big shout out to every single person who is in the crew because we have been getting quality content. So, Alex, as a manager of the fan leagues, watching these fan leagues, watching the fan league competitors that are in the league now, Adam Collins, Marisol, James White, Chance, Paul, who are vets, who are already have been playing into this, but from a fan league standpoint, knowing that they've had the opportunity to already come into this format with it, do you feel like the fan league competitors have a little bit of an advantage going into these tournaments like that?
I do think there are definitely pros and cons to coming from, the fan leagues for sure. Obviously, a lot of people argue the fan leagues are harder. A lot of people argue, there's more opportunities to, do, kind of psych each other out and things like that, in the studio, just like with Ben Bateman, just hopping on in, that's not going to happen in the fan league. So, the pros is that they're comfortable with this kind of digital format and using things, like I said, code words potentially. I've been using code words forever, but I know not everyone does. But, having that kind of relationship and troubleshooting when it comes to the wheel and everything. But also, let's face it, there's something about the physical presence of a manager in a studio that really, really helps, or a teammate, or whatever the situation is. So, there's those aspects, but also a lot of cons is that, at the end of the day, they're not used to, doing the promos and everything on that level. They're not used to the potential clapback from the socials. They're not used to that kind of pressure or playing under the lights. Also, people, when especially fan leaguers and everything, when they talk about, some people talk about how easy Shimodan is, which is ridiculous. Because you are so knowledgeable. It's like,
it's hard.
It's so hard. It's like so hard. And they, thing is, we as viewers, we see, the edited product. We have the, really great option to read the questions as well, not only hear it. So, we have it, not only the visual, but also that auditory, way to kind of approach the question, versus if you are playing digitally, you only have to listen to it. So, and let's face it, digitally, words get muffled, internet cracks a little bit, and you're like, wait, what did you say? Did you say this? Did you say that? And so it gets muffled. It really, really can. So I guess coming from the fan leagues, they're a lot more comfortable in working under pressure in those iffy situations, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh,
Danielle, you're muted.
Sorry. we're gonna bring the match back on just so we can watch the very end of it really quickly. We won't go through the post match or anything like that. So we're gonna bring this back and we're gonna listen to Alonso answer his 5 point. What comedic actor provides the voice for the title character in Captain Underpants? I knew this, but only because I had
I had
seen
no
like
idea.
promos and stuff for it. Alex, Kelsey, you didn't know it. Alex, did you know it?
I guessed, but I was wrong. I've never seen it. I knew it was a book.
Brendan, did you know it? Do you want to answer that?
I can't remember.
You didn't. Right.
I guess Seth Rogen. So.
That's
That was
right.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have had no idea. That's Captain Underpants is definitely a movie that I've never really wanted to watch.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Like I said, I'm not sure if I would have got it or not. I certainly didn't know it at the time. So I think is that it when he says it? I'm like, so because I read Joe. It's so funny that I pop back into frame like that because I remember kind of like leaning over. I think I might have been grabbing some water or something like that, and I was just like, well, that's that. That was it, you know. And then I heard my name, and I thought, oh my gosh, because we were talking. Actually, Coy and I were talking today about this too. We're like, a lot of the time when you're in that situation, it's happened to me a couple of times where the player has like had to answer the question and I have known it, you know, and when you know it, even if you know whether or not they're going to get it right. Like I remember with the movie guys, they got a question when we were at Shazam and I knew 100% what the answer was. So I'm just sitting there being like, are they going to say the right answer or not? So the minute they don't, you go, oh, wow, I won. Whereas this, it was like, they're like, and you're a winner. And I'm like, I don't know which name they're going to say.
That's the fun anticipation of it, especially for us as fans that don't know the 5-pointer question because it's like, all right, who's gonna
We're
win?
waiting. We're like, okay, what?
Yeah.
That's what it was for most of us. I knew that he got the answer wrong, so I knew that you won. So for me, it was extremely fun to watch you go through that excitement of learning and knowing. So now you get to move on to the second round of the tournament and.
Right.
Really quickly, we're gonna wrap this up very shortly because we have another breakdown that we're going to be doing after this. So, Brendan, getting ready, going into round 2 of the singles tournament. Congratulations, Quirky Mercs, getting into round 2. Heck yes, we got it, y'all. So you're either going against Matt Atchity or I just said
Mark Andraka. Yeah.
Mark Andraka. Thank you so much. So we heard it in your post match. You would like to kind of go. We have love for the competitors either way, but you would kind of like to go against Mark Andraka a little bit more than Matt Atchity.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, it's close. I mean, it's either one. But I just think Andraka would be a great test, and it would be fun to see because I think that the game I had against Alonso, I'd have every chance in the world against any player in the league, right? So it would be, and I've never really beaten a former champion before. That being said, though, I've had some rough matches too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, But it would be fun. I like Mark, but Matt is cool too, and I just haven't interacted with him as much as Mark. Mark and I have talked a lot at the studio and stuff, but Matt would be fun too. We'll see.
That was one of the most interesting things that I took away from your post-match interview was that we all know that you're a formidable player. We know that you do well in the league. We've seen you do well in the teams division, and we've seen you do well in the singles. We saw what you did in the free-for-all. God dang. We've seen what you can do and all of that stuff. And one thing that you said in the post-match was about how you've gone up against players that aren't necessarily who've never had belts. So now you get to go if you get to go up against if you get to go up against Mark Andrako, that kind of is a chance for you to kind of prove yourself against someone who has had a belt, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I love Matt Atchity. Matt Atchity is one of my all-time favorite players inside of the league. So really quickly, Kelsey, Alex, I want to know so if I had to pick between Matt Atchity and Mark Andrako, I'm absolutely going to go with Mark Andrako. That's who I have winning the match. Anyway, Kelsey, who do you have?
Andrako's also who I've kind of had on my bracket as winning that match.
How would you feel about a match between either with Brendan Meyer?
I think both would be fantastic. They're both great players. They're awesome personalities. I would love to see the back and forth banter a little bit because it's all going to be good-natured fun. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Any way this last week turn out would be great.
Yes. Alex, same question for you. So who do you have going, Atchity or Andrako?
I'm not gonna lie, I do have Andraco on my fantasy league roster personally.
Oh, nice.
Oh, bias.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. It's like there's only so many spots, and there's a lot of competitors in my family. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Between those two competitors against Brandon Meyer, either one of those, how would you feel about either one of those matches?
I was. Oh, sorry. Wait, sorry.
No,
talking to me.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I would have to say, I would actually low key love for Managerial to really pull out with a win. I love me an upset. I do. I love me an upset more than points. I'm not gonna lie. So it's just one of those things that where it's like it is obviously. I feel like I'm 95.999% sure that Andrick is gonna walk away with the win, but also I feel like you two also have very possibly very similar strengths and weaknesses almost. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to go down. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm mixing them up. But I mean, from what I remember, it's you guys are kind of line up a little bit. Is that
maybe,
not true?
maybe. I mean, it depends. No, I don't think you're making it up. I mean, I think it just kind of depends what he chooses to use on any given day.
True.
I think will depend on whether or not I line up well against him. I mean, I think Mark and Matt are both kind of these players. I mean, Mark's been a little more elite at different times. He's come close to the singles belt and stuff, but they both shown that they know a lot. So I think either Matt, it probably will wind up being very similar to this one where, you know, the person who misses like 2 questions or 3 questions will be the one that loses versus the person that misses just 1 or 2, you know?
One person went to multiple choice.
Oh, yeah.
One point where like that one time I still got it correct, and that's like the defining factor.
I believe that would be the type of match with either or competitor behind it. I believe that that's going to be the match that we actually see between Andraco and Atchity, because I don't think that Atchity is someone that people should just completely dismiss. I know that we've seen, and I know that this whole hoopla with fans right now about the rules and shit like that. I'm so sorry, but no, I'm not that sorry about the shit rules and stuff like that. Not shit rules, but like people giving that much a shit about the rules. Between stuff, I'm so sorry. I put my whole foot in my mouth right there. Anyways, Matt Atchity is still a player that I would love to see kind of continue on inside of the league, and a player who I believe that has enough knowledge to do well inside of the league, which is very similar to like what Jim Vejvoda is.
Yeah.
Like Jim Vejvoda is a player that like we've seen do well, but doesn't necessarily have a firm grasp on the rules, which is also something that we've seen Alonso Duralde do inside of this league as well. So I think that either one of those competitors are definitely gonna. I think that match is gonna go either way. I really do think that it can. I am pulling a little bit more from Mark Andraco for it, because I would love to see the Brendan Meyer Mark Andraco thing, mostly because of what you said inside of the post match. So thank you so much, Brendan, for coming in and hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you.
Network, breaking down your match against Alonso Duralde. You were making it into round 2 of the singles tournament. I hope you're feeling good. We're feeling good for you. So let us know really quickly about your feelings going into round 2.
I feel good, and like total honesty, we haven't taped the match yet, so I don't have to pretend or do anything. Like, you know, we film things at different times, so I'm excited. I have a great opportunity here against either Mark or Matt, and we'll see what happens. It's interesting. We'll see how it goes. I feel really good about the way that I've been playing this year. I feel like I'm playing at a higher level than last year, which is great. But there's just, look, I was thinking about this the other day. The list of competitors, when you just look at the potential round 2 matchups, round 1, 2, but really round 2, the list of competitors that get eliminated in round 2 is going to be equally as decorated as the people that don't. So, I hope I win. I'd love to go on a run, but there's going to be no shame in losing in any round, but especially the second round of this tournament, there's going to be no shame in that. We're going to lose some amazing people in that match, just in that round, just because of who people have to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really quickly, just a quick little bite, because tomorrow on the Schmodown Network, we have the big match going on. I have it written down on my log. Founding Fathers versus Corruption. That's the match that I'm talking about, right? Is that the right match?
That's right. That's the
Founding Fathers versus Corruption versus Who's the Boss versus Shazam as the undercard. So you are going live tomorrow with that. So really quickly, quick bite. How do you feel going into that match? We got to see a little bit earlier, but how do you feel going into that match real quick?
I feel good. It's interesting that, I would feel differently, I think, if I hadn't had last week's match. Last week's match was wild. I mean, so many different things happened that I thought if they happened, it would probably lose us the match. I thought we wouldn't have the lead after round 1 if I got like 6 of 8. I thought that missing 2 questions in round 2 could be really bad. And at the end of the day, like, it all worked out and we still won. So it's kind of one of those things where I feel good. I feel ready to just go in and see whatever happens. I hope I get to play really well, but it's wild. It's like sometimes I've played really well and lost. Sometimes I've played really poorly and lost. And sometimes I've played not like I thought I was going to need to, and I've still won. So we'll see what happens. It's just Who's the Boss is an amazing team. They're a great team. They're the type of team. It's like kind of funny. Both teams are the types of teams that could go both perfect in round 1, could go perfect in round 2, could get everything in round 3. So it all just depends what happens.
Alex, how are you feeling about going into the Shazam Who's the Boss match?
Let me make something perfectly clear. Shazam is going to walk away with the win, hands down. Okay.
Thank you.
Brendan is being all coy, no pun intended, and nice and sweet about this, but I guarantee it. It's just we don't need Who's the Boss anymore. Let's be honest, guys. They're like they're neither here or there. They're just nothing but hype. So, I just want some more, Shazam love in general. It's definitely a team that is slept on overall when it comes to Schmodown, and I'm so excited to really kind of see you guys really kind of prove yourselves a little bit more so than before as well. Obviously, going into this really awesome match.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Kelsey, what about you? How are you feeling about the Shazam Who's the Boss match?
All right, I'm going to pull up a graphic, just kind of point out how I feel about how this match is going to go.
Get a girl.
Look at that accuracy in that match. 93.8%.
Wow.
You got nothing to worry about. You're good.
You're
whipping out them stats. Thank you to Megs, by the way.
Megs made those. If you want to see them in more detail, they are posted in all the Facebook groups and things. She is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
Big shout out to Megs. We love Megs Official. If you miss it on our Twitch stream, please go back and watch that Twitch stream. It'll be up for a couple of weeks, so you can go back and watch the announcement of Megs officially becoming a member of the C2A crew. She's been helping us out behind the scenes for quite some time now, and we just felt like it was just absolutely right to bring her on the team. We all love her, and we are so excited to have her to be a part of the team. So go back, watch that Twitch stream. Also, go back, like this video, comment, subscribe to the channel if you have not. C2A2K coming soon. As always, y'all, it's me. It's your girl, Danny Joy here. You can find me on Twitter at DannyJoy, DANIEEJOY. You can also find me here on the Call to Action Network every Monday with my favorite co-host, Mr. Paul Denuzio. You can also find me here hanging out at random points doing some breakdowns with my favorite crew so much. I love you. I redid my bookshelf, so the award is not here right now, but we are the award-winning Call to Action podcast. Thank you all so much. And Kelsey, let us know where we can find you.
All right. You can find me at KelseyKins90 on Twitter and Instagram. I also run the Call to Action podcast Instagram, so you can interact with me there. TeePublic, we've got merch. We have masks. Wear your masks. And I do have a Twitch channel, Kelsey Kins Gamer, where I play DC-related video games, and I'm soon going to be reviewing comic books that I'm reading. So if you like comics and stuff, check me out there.
That's right. Alex, let us know where you're at, baby girl.
Man, I'm everywhere. I'm just sharing all the Shazam love. Okay, that's what's going on here. Man, I just genuinely like my favorite team. It's so good. Okay, so you can actually find me at Real Alex Mack. It should be in the description box below. You can also find me co-hosting a show called Cinema Bias with Video Drew herself, where we dive into our personal movie biases and really challenge each other to kind of think outside the movie box. She introduced me to a bunch of directors. I never saw a Cronenberg movie until I saw her. I I saw my first David Lynch movie because of
wow,
her.
yeah.
I still kind of regret that, but
Which
still,
David
it's all
Lynch
about-
movie did you watch? Which-
it was her pick. So she challenged me to watch the movie Blue Velvet as my
Oh,
first
yeah.
David Lynch
Oh
movie.
man.
And I was like, oh, all right, okay. Oh man, ears everywhere. Ears. But yeah, you can find me there. But also on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can also find me co-hosting a show called Mornings with the Outlaw. John Roca himself, really dive into movies and news of the week, all that good stuff. Last but not least, big breath. I'm sorry. Every single week I do a show called Schmobates where we debate all really great topics, all things surrounding Schmodown. Next week we're going to be having a Den themed episode with Kate as Kate of the Den as my co-host. It's going to be
Nice.
so much fun. Please come and hang out with us next Wednesday.
That's right, y'all. And you know me, I'm a Texas girl, so I cannot go throughout this entire stream without quoting my favorite friend, Mr. Brad Gilmer, Mr. Brendan Meyer, the fine, young tenderoni. Let us know where we can find you and what you got going on. My
You can find me at Young Tenderoni. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me at Brendan KJ Meyer on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brendan.
All right, thank you, guys.
Everyone at the C2, we really appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us.
No, thank you guys. This was great.
Absolutely.
Always.
For everyone at the C2A crew, for all of the Action Army, we love you. We salute you. Have a good night, y'all. Also, to stay on the channel because in a little bit, Kelsey, Alex, and I are going to be breaking down the Vinny Mancuso Sabrina Ramirez match. So come in and hang out with us in just a few minutes. We're going to be on the same channel, just a couple of minutes away from here. So come in and check us out for that. Like the video, comment, subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much for everyone at the C2A crew. As always, y'all, we love you. We salute you. Bye. Bye.